Well, this shows that we have a good relationship with the region over there of Kurdistan, and we saw that in the meeting, uh, the warm meeting with our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. I think this is very encouraging. I think this visit is going to help the two countries as far as the energy, for example, as far as trade and petrol. All of these things are important to our two nations. Well, I think the relationship between the President Trump, and Kurdistan is a strong one. And I remember in many occasions, the president mentioned the Kurds as brave people, as people who fight for their rights, and this is in public forum. Yeah, he was saying that in public, and he appreciates the relationship that is between us and the Kurds. What happened in that region after the rise of Daesh has made it possible for both the United States and the Kurds of Kurdistan to combine their forces and fight the evil of ISIS. And they succeeded, and they will keep doing that in the future. Yeah, as a matter of fact, energy is on the topic of discussion between our Secretary of State and your government. Uh, you have a lot of energy over there, and it's going to be beneficial for us and for you as well. This whole region over there in Iraq and Kurdistan, there is a lot of energy. I think it's Iraq is considered the fourth largest producer of oil, and therefore the United States has interests over there. And meetings such as the one that's taking place now in Washington would help in this direction, and for the benefits of both nations. Well, the United States supports Kurdistan, and and I remember in one occasion when the Iraqis wanted the U.S. forces to leave Iraq, the other option was to move them to Kurdistan. Uh, Now we don't hear about removal of U.S. forces from Iraq like before, but that tells you the depth of the relationship between us and Kurdistan. We appreciate this relationship, and hopefully it will grow in the future. Uh, I think that's what's going to happen. Well, the changes were important because although the Iraqi government support the U.S. presence, the U.S. Army being in Iraq, there are elements within Iraq who do not support the United States, who keep saying that the U.S. should leave Iraq. They call them in Arabic Fasa'il al-Muqawama, the resistance groups. And these groups historically have been against the presence of U.S. forces in, not only in Iraq, in the Middle East as well. And so it was incumbent on the United States in the foreign policy makers to move in the direction of Kurdistan. If the Iraqi government or the Iraqi people do not want us to be there in Baghdad, then we will find another alternative. And the closest alternative would be Kurdistan. And that's why you see the relationship is growing in that direction between the two countries. Well, right now we have good relations with Baghdad, but there are certain forces in Iraq who do not want us to be there. But our dealings with the government of Iraq is good. The prime minister was here during the time of President Biden, and they had good relationship. They agreed on the presence of the U.S. forces in Iraq. They agreed on the departure of the U.S. forces beginning toward the end of this year, in September of this year, and they are supposed to leave by next year, end of next year. So all of these things have been agreed to by the two governments. Now, the United States uh, has interest in that region, as you know, and therefore, if we move our forces from Iraq, I think we are going to move them to Kurdistan. The policy of the U.S. Is in support of Kurdistan. We believe that the relationship with the people, with the Kurds in that region, is a strong one. They have fought bravely against the terrorist organizations such as Al Qaeda and ISIS, and therefore we ought to support them. We have no other alternative. If God forbid the ISIS rise again, I think the Kurdistani people would see the United States on their side, and we will support you guys. Well, the Kurdistan region is a huge region, and the people of Kurdistan are close friends and allies to the United States. And it's an obligation on the United States to take care of them and protect them from any enemy attacks, God forbid. Uh, Therefore, I don't see any problem with the relationship between the two countries. We fought in the past a common enemy, and we will keep fighting any future enemy. Together, we could overcome these enemies. Well, it's going to help the region very much because it is a sign of wealth when you have oil, when you have energy, sources of energy in the country. That means you're going to have a good future. Look at Saudi Arabia, for example. Saudi Arabia is one of the wealthiest countries in the world. The United States, the President Trump, during his visit in the region, Saudi Arabia and Qatar and United Arab Emirates, he was able to bring with him $4 trillion. $4 trillion. This never happened in the history of the world. So I think your region deserves pay good attention to because you are on your way to become a wealthy nation. Well, now the situation now in Iraq is a confederate situation, a federal one. The Iraqi government and then the Kurdistan government. And I think there was at the beginning resistance to this, but the United States helped create this partnership in Iraq between Kurdistan and the Baghdad government, and it looks like it's working fine. And I don't see any reason for a change as long as the situation is going fine. The issue with the oil, the distribution or sale of oil, I think they are going to go overcome that, and I don't see any problem in the region. I think the tendency here in the United States is to encourage federalism because that would solve a major problem in Iraq. The Kurds seek independence, seek to have their own government, to be ruled by their own government, and I don't see any objection to that. The Iraqis realize that the Kurds compose a major force, important population of Iraq, and I think they deserve to have their own rule according to their own wishes. Nothing wrong with that. I think this would solve the problem in other countries as well. Like for example, Syria. Syria is composed of several elements. There is nothing in common between these elements, and so I don't see any problem with the situation in Iraq, and I don't see any problem in the future for Syria to develop the same system that you have in Iraq. Well, the U.S. has interest throughout the world, mainly in the Arab world, and that includes Kurdistan region. Kurdistan is part of that world, and we respect the elements, or the various communities that live in your region. The Kurds are a vibrant community, and they are allies to the United States. They fought the same enemy as I mentioned earlier, and I don't see any problems with that. We could develop a really good relationship in that region. We could develop that region specifically in the area of energy, in the commerce, in the production of oil, all of these things. The United States could be a partner with that region. Well, it's very important. The production of oil in your region is very important. It affects the prices of oil. When the price go up, then there is going to be inflation, not only in the United States and Europe, but all over the world, because oil is the benchmark for resisting oil prices, for resisting inflation. And therefore, when you have more sources of energy in the region, that means the region is wealthy. It's going to become a wealthy region. Look at the United Arab Emirates. Look at Saudi Arabia, how wealthy they became because of the oil. And you have the same thing. Your future is really a bright future. If you take care of your resources and you use them, you utilize them in the right way, you're going to be a wealthy nation. I think so. I think your regions with its resources would the people of your region would pay attention to peace, to stability, to economic situation, good economic situation, because when a country has such resources like the ones you have, its interest would be concentrated on the economic development in that country. And since you are in an area where has developed in the last 50 years to a really something the world has never seen before, like what's happening in Qatar. You go to Qatar and you see these beautiful buildings, beautiful highways. Uh, this whole area has developed in such a way that you cannot imagine. And so I think one day we're going to be in Iraq, we're going to be in your region, and we're going to see these developments taking place in your area.